Hello and welcome everybody to Glitch Cube. This is Chris. Christian is not in the episode today. He is still recovering from being sick, so he's getting some rest. Hopefully he feels better soon. And yeah, it's just me today. We had kind of a plan for a certain kind of themed episode today, but I feel like that episode really shines with his thoughts and stuff, because I know he really likes those games. So today we're just gonna kind of go over some of the games I've been playing recently. Since last month it was basically all horror games and didn't really get to talk about any of the non-spooky games I got to play, as well as kind of bring up possibly some of the games I'm going to be playing next month and leading up to some of my favorite games of the year. It's definitely a packed year. You know, you look at the Game Awards and it's like, there's good games nominated, but there's so many more out there that are just not listed because, I mean, it'd be impossible to list all the titles released this year. But I feel like I played enough games this year, and when looking over everything I've played, I think this is the most games I've actually completed in a year in the past few years, surprisingly. Even though I feel like my life is a lot busier, I'm still able to finish games because I think I learned to kind of prioritize my time with it. But anyway, so let's kind of start off with some of the games I started playing earlier. I think one of my favorite games I played recently was Star Ocean 2, the remake that just came out. And this was a title that I really, really liked when I was a kid. I still have my original copy. It was a game I didn't understand a lot when it came out. And there was these huge skill systems, not really skill trees to an extent, but there was just a lot of names that I didn't understand because for the most part, when it came to RPGs, I was used to, Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, where it's like, oh, you level up, your skill pops up, and that's it. Like, you're not really kind of unlocking different things, powering up different stats with different numbers. Like, it was just very simplified. But with Star Ocean 2, it really did something different because you have cooking, you have alchemy, you have all these different things, which are basically just all crafting. Different ways of doing different crafting for different items. And for me, this game was such a jump in the regular JRPGs that I played to something very different, and almost exposed me to a different style of RPG because I felt like I didn't really see that kind of system in those games. Like that, I feel like it's more so like I see that in a lot of Western RPGs at the time that it came out. And I never understood it back then. Surprisingly, looking back, and as I was playing through this, I got pretty far. I didn't beat it originally, but I was almost, I would say, 3/4 through. And I feel like, oh, that's not bad for someone that really didn't understand that system at all, because if you learn how to utilize that system, it really does make the game easier, which in a lot of ways, this game felt a lot easier than that. And a part of me is like, oh, well, I'm an adult. I kind of understand what to do now with the skill trees and how to kind of prioritize certain skills and do things better. But this game was awesome. I originally didn't want to buy this remake because I figured, I could just play the original if I really wanted to. And a lot of the 2.5D HD, whatever you want to call this Octopath graphic, while I like the style, I feel like how Octopath does it with the fisheye kind of lens to it, it's a little distracting. But with this game, it while it is a little off-putting at first because it is so damn bright, like I feel like in a lot of ways this game is too bright. But as someone who loves that look of RPG from the PlayStation 1, right? You look at like Dragon Warrior 7, you look at Grandia, where it's like your 2D sprite in a 3D environment. And for the most part, you could rotate your camera, all that kind of stuff. I loved it. I absolutely love those graphics. And I know a lot of people didn't back then. A lot of people were still on the high of like Final Fantasy 7 and 8, where you had, fully 3D characters on at least pre-rendered backgrounds. But something about this just felt alive back then. And with this, it's great. At first it was kind of weird seeing such high def like assets, I guess you could say. Like some of the locations look so beautiful. Like it, and then it just looks weird when your sprite is there because it's like, oh, well, this is not as, good looking as this backdrop. But after a few hours, I just warmed up to it and I was like, you know what? This is cool. I like this look. Especially later on in the game, there's some like situations or places you go where it has such a beautiful backdrop. And I'm like, damn, this game looks really good. Like, I feel like they did such a good job with this, and it makes me want to see them do this more with their forgotten RPGs or even games back then. But, I understand this game was very popular for what it was, so it makes sense that it would get a remake. But I'm like, damn, it'd be nice to see the other games like this. But this game was really fun. It felt easier just because I think I knew what I was doing. And so with the story, there's two characters. There's Claude and there's Reyna. And while they both, played together, like when you start it up, you see an intro scene special to them that you wouldn't see if you played the other character. And that kind of happens throughout the game where you will see cutscenes that are special to that character. And, those cutscenes are happening while the other character is doing their own thing. So like there was a scene where, with Reyna was in a cave looking for something and Claude was, in the forest coming to see me like right after that scene. And it's kind of cool because it makes it feel like, oh, there's actually like something going on. Like the world's alive in a very like basic way. But hey, it works. It worked back then. And that's something I have to keep in mind is like, in a lot of ways, like this game is pretty faithful to the original. So thinking like, oh, wow, all these systems and everything was in place back then. It's kind of crazy, especially because like with this story, they say there's 96 different endings, which I think for the most part, it's just like maybe one scene different. But you do look in like the ending screen, which is like on the main menu, and there are a lot of different combinations. And it really comes down to like, oh, you're seeing this one scene with these two characters instead of by themselves. And I don't know, it's kind of cool that all that existed back then. But back in the day, I played as Claude because he was more of like a melee focused character, right? It's easy to just kind of run in, attack, bounce back. And seeing as this game is not turn-based at all, it's more of like an action RPG in a enclosed ring to an extent. You fight your battles in a closed space, and you can hotkey some attacks, on your shoulder buttons or whatever, however you're playing it. And then you can pull up a menu and cast spells or do different skills if you want to do something that's not hotkeyed. So when I played as Claude back in the day, I really liked it because it just felt like a normal hack and slash game. This time around, I went with Reyna because almost felt like I wanted to learn more about the world. And that's kind of what you learn with these two characters, is that with Reyna, you're learning a lot of lore with the planet you're on and kind of like the history of the people that kind of started it. Whereas if you start with Claude, you learn about the space exploration and how he discovered, getting down to this planet, which it's interesting because you look at later Star Oceans and I feel like that's something where it's a lot more with space and less about kind of this, where it feels like you're more on the planet. But anyway, so it's in a lot of ways, the stories are kind of different in the background. But ultimately, at the end of the game, you realize the story still will come to the same conclusion for the most part, unless you picked like different choices or did something a little differently. And, endings are also based on like your friendship levels with them. Like there's a whole bunch of systems at play. And the cool thing about your party is that, their AI is actually pretty damn good on the battlefield. You can, switch characters, you can do all that kind of stuff. But even back in the original, I remember it getting a lot of praise for actually having decent AI. And I mean, it transferred well to this. Like there were times where, you have your tactics set up for, I want you to go all out. I want you to play defensively. And they do a really good job at that. And for the most part, I had a mage always in my party. That wasn't just me. Melting enemies. I had 2 sword fighters, and then eventually, I went mostly melee with just me being the healer. And it was perfect. I was basically invincible. But I loved it because the playstyle just felt different. And you see your enemies on the overworld map, which is always a plus. If you're over leveled, you just can instant win instead of having to fight, which is always a plus. And it was a joy to play. I feel like a lot of the quality of life improvements with this game actually felt like quality of life and made it a lot easier to understand, because this game does have a lot of intricate systems. And going back to like the skills, you have your combat skills that you can spend BP points in. So if you want to unlock new skills to use like attacks and stuff, you use that. Or you use it to increase like kind of like your attributes in a way where it's more like chance attributes, right? So randomly you can break through someone's defense randomly. So you do like a full on attack. Or, you can do it where if you're casting a spell, you don't get interrupted. And then there's also SP, which is more so for your specialty points. So say your character is learning cooking. The more you level it up, the different ingredients you can use, the better effects they'll have. And with doing that, a lot of the big specialty skills, their individual skills in between them also increase attributes like on top of it. So like one of them will need biology. Well, if you level up biology, it increases your health with every level. So it's a little confusing at first, especially when I didn't understand it back in the day. But now it's like, so do you want to prioritize having really good attributes, or do you want to have these really cool skills? And, early game, a lot of those skills really do make a difference. There's like determination, which gives you more experience, and then that unlocks another thing so you can gain even more experience. And then it's, another thing on top of that, you get more BP and SP, and it's just like you can really like power level pretty early. And it's cool. Like there's lots of different play styles you can do with that too. But I really enjoyed it, and the fishing is always fun in it. It made me almost want to fish in every different location just to see what was there. And there's a lot of rewards for fishing, which made it enjoyable. And it was just cool going back to this world. And a lot of ways I could visually remember a lot of these towns in the original. So when I was walking through these in this game, I was like, oh my God, I remember how this looked. Like, this is amazing. Like, they did such a good job with how it looks. And it was cool. Like I said earlier, I know these graphics seem to have like a 50-50 reaction with a lot of people that I was reading. And maybe done a little bit differently, I would like to see, at least other Square games get this. They'd be cool if you could do with all the RPGs from that era. But, it's Square has enough where they could easily do this. And it seems like they're doing it with a lot of their RPGs, or at least bringing them back. So it'll be cool to get through that. But overall, I really loved this game a lot. And it made me kind of want to play through the first Star Ocean, because I never have. And it has the PSP style look to it. So it has more of that classic, which, ultimately I do like that more. But yeah, for me, it's a high recommend for anybody that wants a RPG experience. And it's just a good story. I think it lasted me about 50 hours, maybe 60. Like, it was long. And that was doing most of the content. I think there were some side stuff in the end I didn't get. And that was only doing one character, too. So I finished Reyna's storyline. And yeah, I don't think I'll go back and play Claude's, just because I remember playing it a lot as a kid. But I feel like you play one route and you basically know everything. I feel like maybe with Reyna's you kind of learn more all around, which was nice. But yeah, I loved it. Oh, and party members are also specialized to certain characters. So it's not like you're going to be able to recruit everybody, because there is a max limit. There's also, you recruit one person, this other person doesn't want to join your party. So you need to pick and choose who you want. But yeah, this game was awesome. It was great. So I've been trying to go through a bunch of kind of like knocking out the AAAs, the bigger titles out of the way, and looking at my list of like what I want to play next. There's really not many left. At least it's always kind of weird to say AAA, because, you look at like Armored Core 6 and it's like, well, some people wouldn't classify it that, but it's not indie, right? So, for me, I played through SpiderMan 2 pretty quickly, surprisingly, but it was actually, I liked it. I thought the first and Miles Morales was okay. Like, I liked them for what they were, but it just kind of felt like, oh, this is a good superhero game. Like, there's not a whole lot of them, so there's that. But I guess I went into those games not really expecting much, and kind of got that. But with the sequel, it was really good. I felt like a lot of these side quests, side missions that you did kind of felt impactful, that you got to see more characters, got to see more villains, got to see like just a whole different side. And I mean, you get to see all of New York, which is cool. Like, I've only been through New York through the airport, so I don't have much knowledge other than like seeing like movies and videos and stuff. But the world was just pretty, I mean, I almost had more fun just swinging around, whereas the first game, if I could fast travel everywhere, I'd do it. This one, I was like, oh, it's kind of fun just wing gliding through buildings and doing all kinds of stunts. But the story was good. Ultimately, with it was a lot longer than I thought. I think I clocked 25 hours into it, and I thought it was going to end at like the 15-hour mark, because it seemed like it was wrapping up pretty nicely. I was like, oh, this is an okay game. And then there's a change right? There's a narrative change, and you're like, oh, this is really cool. And then you're hit with another, almost a whole nother story. And it's awesome. For a superhero game, I really liked it a lot. I basically wasn't interrupted when I was playing that game. Like I didn't play any other game at the same time. Like I was like, oh, I really want to see this through, because it just felt nice. The combat felt good. Everything about the first two games felt so clean in this. And for me, like I guess it's kind of like I don't want to say like a guilty pleasure, but like I love these kind of like high profile games, because it's like, oh, it's always gonna be a nice experience. It's always gonna be pretty. And I honestly wasn't gonna get it. And I don't really know what got me to get it either. I think maybe because I was just like, whenever I see like a first party game for a console, I'm like, oh, I kind of want to play it just to see what it's all about. Because the PlayStation 5 doesn't really have a whole lot of them. I was like, oh, I want to pick it up, right? Like, I mean, I bought the damn thing. Like, why don't I utilize it for things built for it? And yeah, it's damn good. I think for like a PlayStation 5 exclusive, it's definitely up there for me. I know there's definitely like better, but for like a Sony made game, definitely up there with like Ratchet and Clank. And like, well, Ghost is like last gen, but it was fun. I recommend it. I think because the length of the game, I'm like, the price is kind of justified. Whereas like the other two games, I felt they were almost too short for how much you paid, but still really good games. And this one was really enjoyable. I was very surprised by it. It did have those stupid stealth moments, but they kind of changed them a little bit, so they were a little more interesting. But I can see why people complain about those still, because they really do take you out of the action, which is kind of a bummer, because this game has a lot more emotion and action in it than the first two games, which it was cool. It made the characters feel alive, because I feel like in a lot of ways Peter Parker wasn't very animated in the first game, aside from like certain scenes. But in this one, you could feel the emotion, which was cool and made him likable for me, because I didn't really care for him in the other games. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by it. So I know I mostly covered Alan Wake 2 in the last Halloween episode that we had done. And I don't remember if I had beaten it before that episode. I think I was very close to. But the game was awesome. If you want to hear more of what I truly thought about it, it's more so in that episode. But it's definitely, for a non-indie title, it's probably my game of the year. It was just phenomenal. I mean, a lot of people also say the same thing. It's the way it blends live, real people with 3D is just, to me, kind of like the future. And it's interesting because I never really noticed other games doing that. And then a game I'm going to talk about at the end kind of does it too, a little bit, at least in the beginning. And I really like it. I never really minded FMV stuff in games. I always thought back in the day they were kind of funny, but utilize like this, where you can really mix in like real and 3D, it's cool. If it's done right, it can look really damn good. And Alan Wake did that. And, the only thing I think I have a gripe with it is that it was more so like, I felt like the amount of optional stuff was perfect, but at the same time, like, if you're a person that just wants to experience the story, it's easy to get kind of distracted by being like, oh, there's a chest up here. I'm going to go get that. Oh, this map's kind of big. Let's go look around. Like that was the only thing, but I mean, it's so minor because I really liked everything about it. I think it surprised me. And if I hadn't played the first game recently, I don't know if I would have gotten this just because I don't know. It just kind of surprised me, and then I was kind of hyped up on it. And I'm like, oh, it was awesome. Everything about it just felt good. But if you want to hear more about that game in general, I already talked about it. I don't want to repeat myself to everybody listening again on this. So, but after finishing that, I played this game, which I made a post about the other day saying, oh, our next episode's going to be talking about this game a lot. And while this isn't that episode, I will still talk about it in a different way. But Jousant was a very cathartic experience after playing Alan Wake, right? Coming down from that kind of dark, confusing, sometimes scary world into a bright, empty world, but beautiful. It was a pretty big change. And I remember seeing this game. I forgot what showcase it was in. And I'm thinking, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, I always think climbing games are kind of interesting, but never think much of them. I mean, it's not like there's a whole lot out there, right? We usually just have platformers. But this game, I was like, this looks kind of unique. Like, I always kind of enjoy these games. I just never really talk about them that much. But you start off where you're at the base of this, like, kind of like a spire, right? Or like this tall mountain. And everything around you is kind of barren. It looks like water is dried up, and it looks like the world is just basically dead or dying. And there's this huge mountain, which, you can see that civilization existed there once, right? Like, it has structures, it has everything. And sprinkled throughout it, you'll find, letters and books about people that live there and people that have traveled around there, as well as shrines describing different events in the history of this tower. And in a lot of ways, this game reminds me of Journey, and that's kind of what that other, sneak peek to the next episode. I feel like this might be a game very close to that style that I don't think has really been done that well in a while. And, hear me out. It is different, obviously. You're not exploring a desert like Journey, but in a lot of ways, I feel like this game kind of mimics it in a different way. And as you're climbing this tower, you have your little sidekick with you, and you realize, like, oh, there's these different kind of things you activate. And along the way, like, I'm trying to tiptoe around the spoilers, and I'm also trying to save stuff for, the next episode. But a lot of the difficulties you face in this mimic Journey, especially like certain parts where weather plays a factor. You feel that same kind of weather effect in this game, and it was so damn cool. Like, it worked really well, and the climbing feels amazing in this game. I never had difficulty with the climbing. I thought at times I would probably, fall or forget, but being able to put a stake in the rock and as like a safety fall or whatever they call it, it was awesome. It made the game feel like you didn't have to be worried about anything. There were times I did forget to do that, and I did have to like climb back up, but it was never difficult. And there's a lot of like, with the shrines that you can find around, there's a lot of little small collectibles you can find if you really want to know more about the lore. And it was cool. I felt like got a little more than half of everything found, and I was basically able to understand what was going on with this game. And I really, really liked it. I don't know if it's because I needed something kind of relaxing after playing a bunch of these kind of like high adrenaline games, but it was just like the music was great, the atmosphere, the game is beautiful. I think it is one of those Unreal 5 with the lumens and the lighting, and you can see it in this game, and just it's gorgeous, and it runs well. I didn't have any problems with it, and it's short. Like, I felt like the game was the like most perfect length for this kind of game, because you start realizing, like, you know, every kind of like big checkpoint where you do something, you kind of get introduced to a different thing you have to do to climb. And I felt like the lengths of those segments were just perfect. And you're able to understand the story well enough through going all these places. And I feel like even if you didn't go and collect a lot of like the codex or whatever, the scrolls, you would kind of get an idea of what's going on with the game. Basically, it's just like the world is, you know, not post-apocalyptic, but it's just like you can tell that the climate is not right. And you don't know what you're climbing up to. I like that the game never really told you what you're climbing up for at all. And because I don't know, I feel like when you play a game and in the beginning they're like, oh, you're climbing this mountain because there's going to be, you know, a shrine up there, or there's going to be a person that you talk to. It's like, okay, so I kind of know how the game's going to end, right? It's going to be whatever they're telling me, or something bad's going to happen revolving around what they're telling me. But this, it was like, why am I climbing? What am I doing? Are there people up there? Like, I'm finding these notes. Are there going to be people? And it was cool. Like, I was genuinely interested in trying to explore different like crevices and different cracks. And, you know, you see a little like stone sticking out, or, oh, I could climb to that. I wonder if I can, you know, let go of my cord a little bit, swing over and find it. And then it's like, oh, here's a little bit of history on, you know, this person that came here as a merchant and stuff. And it's just, it's really cool. Like, being able to fit all this little stuff into such a small, you know, short game, which I think I clocked in around 4 hours. And, you know, it's a great, you know, game to play on an afternoon, or, you know, as a wind down kind of game. And yeah, I will definitely go more into detail in this game in the next episode, but it really surprised me. And honestly, it makes me want to go back and play some of the games I haven't played that are like this, which there's not many. I weirdly feel like I've played a lot of these kind of, I don't know if you call it walking simulator, because you are doing more than just walking, but I guess journey-like in a lot of ways. Like, it's something that you feel has been done a lot, but at the same time, I don't think they've been done well. So when I find a game that has the same kind of feeling to it, I just love it. And this game did that. And I think anyone that enjoys like a nice little indie story with fun gameplay, like, this game was great. And it's on Game Pass, so I mean, it's even easier to try it. So now I'm going to talk about the game that I'm currently playing, and I'm on the final chapter, surprisingly. And that's the new Like a Dragon Gaiden. And I'm a big fan of this series. I have loved it for a very long time. I know I've talked about it before. I've basically played all of them at this point. I think I didn't finish 3, but I finished all the others. And I've done most of the spin-offs. I haven't played Lost Judgment. I played the first one, though, and I liked it. But this game, A lot of people were kind of complaining, thinking, oh, this is DLC, because it's kind of like a tie-in between 7 and the game that's coming out. Because you're basically trying to figure out, oh, so what was this main character through the whole, Yakuza series doing in this one game where he wasn't the main character? And like I was saying, I'm a really big fan of this series. I was a little nervous about this game because I was like, it's not a mainline game. How much are they going to do with it to make it feel like, other games in the franchise? And I'm digging it. I think it's a game that I have to play a little bit to like it. I feel like in the beginning, I was kind of sitting there like, I don't know how to feel about this. Like, it felt very constricted. It felt very like, what is this story doing? Like, it was just kind of weird. I didn't really like it at first. And then, I know this is like it's not a good thing, but, after, I would say maybe like 5 hours, a little less than that, like, I felt like the story was kind of picking up. You were meeting interesting characters, and, it is different from a mainline, right? Like, you're used to like sub stories and map menu. Well, now you are you're working for this network, who, she has all the homeless basically have this network where, if they hear something, they let her know. So you're basically doing little mini quests throughout the town. And there's 2 layers to it. There's like very minimal requests where it's like, oh, we want you to wear this outfit, or we want you to bring this food to us. And then there's the actual side quest, which some of them are pretty funny. I would say you don't feel a lot of the very quirky ones from the mainline games in it. But there's still some quirky stuff, and there are some fun throwbacks to some of the older titles in this game too. And, the combat, there's only 2 styles in this. And if you've played the other games, there's usually always 4. But, this one, you have your normal dragon style, and then you also have this new style called Agent, which you get these kind of like gadgets throughout like the first early chapters. And you get like drones that can fly around you. You can get bombs that you can throw, and it's cool. That play style is more of like a faster pace. Like, in my heat mode, I can knock down enemies. I can do all this, and it's cool. I usually just end up being with Dragon because it's more stable and stronger. But it's fun. I think once I got further into it and really explored pretty much everything and done most missions or side missions, I was like, oh, you know what? This isn't a bad game. Like, it definitely feels like a one-off. Some things are very interesting that they did. So in some of the older titles, you have these cabaret clubs where you like talk to like a lady, and at the end you get a video. Well, in this one, it's like actual people. I think most of them are VTubers, or they're different, like kind of celebrities from over there in different ways, or models, stuff like that. And at first it's kind of weird because I'm like, oh, these people are real. Like, this isn't 3D. But it's cool. It's different. And going back to what I said earlier about the mix of 3D and real, in the beginning, like the first like 10 minutes, there's like a scene where it's like showing you like real images of the city street, and then it merges into like the actual game. And I'm like, oh, this is really cool. Like, kind of hoping there'd be more of that. Granted, it'd be kind of weird to do more of that in this game because it's not like the graphics are like that realistic, but it worked for what it was. But yeah, the story, it kind of picks up. I think I'm on the final chapter now, and I can see kind of where it's going and how it's leading into where 7 happened. And But when you look back at the storyline, many of the other games, it really does feel like a one-off. And while I'm happy to understand, what happened, I feel like a lot of the kind of, I don't want to say coziness, but a lot of the what standard of these games is kind of lost on it. That saying, I feel like, if someone were to be new to this franchise, because granted, there's, not including this game, there's 7 mainline titles, and then, there's 8 because of 0. There's a lot. And, the story is really long in the sense that it's like, it starts out, with the framing of the murder and all that kind of stuff. But then it's like, you're learning about the patriarchs, you're learning about all these different like clans, stuff like that. And it can get kind of tiring, for me. I kind of like breeze through a lot of the later ones, one after another. But, you look at it and it's like, well, 0 is a definite must play to understand what's going on. Maybe 1, but you could probably skip 1. And then I would say maybe 6 to kind of understand the build up to this game. And then obviously 7, because that's going to be where the story goes, onwards from here. And then this game really explains kind of everything. And there's times where it does flash back to past games to kind of like recap certain things that pop up. So in a lot of ways, while this may not seem like a must play game, if you played the other games, I think for people that are like new to it, this could be good. This could be a jumping in point as long as you've played some of the older games, because you'll understand what's going on. But it is on Game Pass, so if you have that, you can always try it out and see if you like it. But I'm enjoying it for what it is. And it honestly just makes me more hyped for the next game. And yeah, this one, it's good. I'll leave it at that. Like, it's nothing crazy, but I like where the story has gone, and I'm honestly really excited to see how it ends, because I really want to see how he shows up in the other games. So, for me, the year's coming to an end, right? And this year had a bunch of games to play. And I feel like the past few years, I was always able to kind of keep up with the games I wanted to play. But this year was a little bit harder, right? Every month it felt like there was always like 5 to 10 new games. And for me, as someone who likes different genres, likes different playstyles, there's a lot for me to choose from, right? Like, I wish I was a person that was like, I only like these kind of games and that's it, because it'd be a lot easier. But I'm also very happy there's a lot for me to choose from. But, I think after this, I've been debating the Dead Space remake. I've been looking at Armored Core 6. I want to get back into that. But for me, there's a lot of indie titles I want to finish before we do our Game of the Year episode. Like Lunacid is one, which is like a Kingsfield kind of game. And I've listened to the soundtrack of it, and I picked it up, but I haven't had a chance to play it yet. And I'm very excited. I think out of any of the upcoming games I'm going to play for next month's update, I think I'm most excited for this game. But I got that. I got The Invincible on my queue. I got Chance of Sonar. There's a lot, and I still want to play through Baldur's Gate 3, like Small Saga. Like, there's so many that I'm really excited to jump into. So not only will next month be packed about games that I've been playing, but the Game of the Year this year I think will be very interesting, because I feel like while we played a lot of the same games or similar games, I think our lists will be very different compared to last year, where I felt like last year we played a couple of the same games, so they were both on our lists, just the different numbers. So this year will be fun. It'll definitely be a lot longer, because I think for me, I could easily split, non-indie and indie into 2 different lists. So expect that. But yeah, other than that, that's what I've been playing. I've been finally catching up with anime. I just finished Pluto, which was okay. I'll put it that way. Knowing that it was from the same creator as Monster, which is something I had started but never finished, but I liked what I saw. I was like, oh, this is going to be really good. And this was really good. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. I kind of was expecting maybe something deeper. But I did like some of the themes and topics touched on in the season. I thought it was really well done otherwise. But yeah, I'm looking for more anime recommendations. I mean, anything, shows, movies, definitely. I have a queue of movies I want to watch, so that's kind of stacked. But for shows, anime, I'm down. I'm questioning, do I want to do Vinland Saga next? Maybe. Need to finish Attack on Titan, and there's a bunch of older stuff I have lined up too. Like, there's just never enough time to really watch and play and do everything, unless I have like 5 monitors up with different things going on at the same time. But can't do that just yet. Maybe one day. But for me, I think that's gonna call it here. It's been weird talking with myself. I have this inner monologue all the time in my head, but actually doing it and just talking into a microphone, staring at a screen, it's kind of weird, different, but yeah, this was fun. Definitely, we hope you come back next week. We're gonna talk about journey like games, so should be interesting. Bunch of games we're gonna talk about. Surprisingly, there's actually been some pretty good likes to it, so and they're all pretty different, so it'll be fun. But yeah, thanks for listening, and join us next week. Bye.